Oh, there it is. Hey guys, and welcome back to the show. I have a guest, and we are going to be talking about money and high earners, high earnings, high earn. How are we going to say that, Sarah?
High earners. I love that. High earners.
Yeah, high earners, money talk and high earners with Kim and Sarah. Sarah and I both went to the same coach training together. We're both high earners. We've received multiple awards. And we were talking last week with our mentor. And that's kind of how this came about. And Sarah's like, you know what? Let's just go talk about money. And I was like, that sounds like a fabulous idea. So this is actually our first conversation.
Yeah, so fun. We're just like totally open. And I know that we have so much wisdom and fun, juicy things to share with your audience. So thanks for inviting me and for having this conversation.
So I want to just kind of break it down to the parts where the hard parts. Are you okay with talking about that? Because
Absolutely.
high earner, but were you a high earner your first year?
Well, it kind of depends on how you define what a high earner is. But what I want everyone to know is that before I became a coach, I was a stay-at-home mom. And before that, I was a server and a bartender. I did go to college, but that, like, my career path was kind of, I was going to open my own mom and pop restaurant. And I had never earned more than $42,000 in a year. That was my highest paying job before I got pregnant on my honeymoon and became a stay-at-home mom. So it's really important for everyone to understand that I did not think of myself as a high earner. I really had this self-concept that I was not a person who had what it took or who had the skill set to make more than $50,000 in a year.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I really had to shift that and question that to be even open to the possibility that I could. And so when I became a coach, one of the first money goals that we all see as coaches is we want to make $100,000 in a year. So that was my goal my first year. And in order to even go for that, I had to believe that that was possible for me, see myself as someone who could make that much money. And I went all out and I did all the things and I made $100,000 in my first 15 months. So it took me a little bit longer than that first year, but yeah, that was like when I got to celebrate that moment in March of 2021 or 22. My mind was blown. I was like, yeah, I shifted my thinking and then I created a whole new reality.
I love that you said that because I'd like to kind of tap in on that because we do goal setting. So I write down my goals every single day, and I have already told the world my goal is 5 million, so I cannot not do it. And I actually was on a live event like a couple of weekends ago, and it went to 30,000 people, and I said my goal is $5 million. I'm like, shit. This is going to get interesting. And I mean, I was sweating and I was like, I don't fully believe it yet, and it was with Grant and he pulled it out and he was like, you know what you just said is so important. He's like, I don't even tell my goals because I know I'm not going to hit them. But the courage that it takes to say I'm going to earn $100,000, and that's something Brooke has done extremely well with us, is
Yeah.
setting that $100,000 goal. And I mean, I have several of those thingamajiggies. It works. It does work. And we used to have a really, I'm going to say, a clean understanding of what $100,000 means. And I think it got dirtied. Let me just get your opinion on this because you were there too. $100,000 award used to mean you've put out a lot of service in the world and you've been rewarded. That when we started back in when this first happened, that was it. But then something happened and a lot of negativity about money came in and a lot of blaming, and all she cares about is the money. And did you see the behavior was a little different with when I came out with the money thing, and it was like, wait a minute, we can get in trouble for that and people don't want to hear that. And I was like, what just happened? No, like I went to a live here right after that. And I was like, I am not going to apologize for this.
Yeah.
Don't like it, you don't like it. But it triggered me in a weird kind of way. And in that moment, I remembered sitting at the welfare office, homeless, pregnant, 19, and saying to myself, I don't know what I have to do, but I'm not coming back here. And in that moment, when that in that interaction, I that came back to mind. And I was like, you know what? every person who has a problem with money needs to be homeless, sitting at a welfare office to realize the value of money.
Mm.
A home, food, diapers. I was trading food stamps to buy the what do you call those? The not food item, whatever.
Yeah.
I'd give them 100, they would give me 50. So they would use the 100 food stamps. I'd get $50 to buy toothpaste
Yeah.
and diapers. But something just happened in that moment. And you were
Mhm.
there. That's why I really wanted to do this conversation with you and kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know that they understand that there is a driver in us that's not about our bank account.
Mm. I feel that like my story is a little bit different, but when I started my business, I was going through a divorce. So I was like in an apartment by myself with two little kids. I didn't have a strong career to fall back on, and I really had this moment of fear and panic, like, what am I going to do with myself? What am I going to do with the rest of my life? And how am I going to support these kids? And I wasn't in a stable financial situation with their dad going through a divorce. Like I didn't have a lot of financial support. So yeah, there's this like real necessity to figure it out. But I think that, and I think that when people first watched, I was very transparent about my journey. And I saw a shift from like when I was first starting off, people were like really cheering me on, right? People on the internet, on Instagram, they were like, you're so inspiring. Like, we're rooting for you. Yeah, get it, girl. Like, thanks for showing us. Like, thanks for going first. And then I started to create financial success and big financial success. And it happened relatively quickly. And there was this moment that I felt the tide turn, like where people were no longer excited for me or rooting me on. And I know that's not everyone, but like where it started to really piss some people off. Like, okay, you've made enough,
Yeah.
you charge enough now. You don't get to keep going for more. You don't get to keep. It's kind of what I see happening with Taylor Swift right now. Like, all right, you've won your Grammys, you've got earned all the money. Like, you don't like stop now. You don't deserve more. And I just was so taken aback by that. Like the things like what I charge, how much money I'm making, like how I'm enjoying the money, how I just love the experience of creating money pisses people off.
Yeah. When I tell the story, it's a little different, but the same concept. So I'm brick and mortar since 1997. So I started in hair and nails and tanning, and then I extended into ladies fitness. And I was freaking the freak out, like to put $65,000, like I live in the country. Are people going to use this?
Yeah.
And my friends and customers at the beginning were rooting me on. They were inviting everyone to come in. And then I hit a great spot. And exactly that, suddenly they become your enemies. And there's something that happens that I think that people want to be saviors, like they want the credit for helping you get there
Mm,
until you get where they are or above. And now they have to look in the mirror of why they're not getting, there's something that happens there. I found that super interesting and so hurtful. The rejection at that point
yeah.
when they were the ones who helped, get there. And then suddenly it's like that stab was so painful. And it really taught me about this, like really allowing people to have their thoughts and their beliefs and not let it stop my trajectory. And
Yeah.
exactly what you said, like, don't you have enough? Would you need more? Why do you like, what do you, and these are the kinds of things we hear in the high earning world, but not in the high earning rooms.
Right. And I think that's why the high earning rooms like don't have more people, especially more women in them, because we are so afraid of feeling that rejection. And it's real. Like I really felt the bulk of it like last year. I spent a lot of last year crying and being so hurt and feeling so misunderstood and devastated that people like felt that way about me and so like caught off guard too. And I really had to move through that to continue to show up and continue to grow my business. And I just had this moment. I was like, I get it. I get it why people quit now and why we aren't all like millionaire coaches. I work with other life coaches building their business online. I'm like, because this hurts. And my nervous system is telling me, like, go back in the cave. This is not safe.
That's right. That's right. Were you on the first money call when I actually asked Brooke about this?
No, no. So I don't even know all of the juice.
So it was just this like I was like, okay, so I have this particular program in the business that brings in 500,000 and I've actually like I cut it December 31st and in order to go through with the plan for 5 million. And my question was the like watching all of this fall apart around us, you know, watching what would happen in our own community as she got bigger and bigger,
Yeah.
and how that my nervous system really was activated in a negative way. And and she said, you know, I decided I had hated myself more than anyone else can hate me. And I was never gonna like there was like this tolerance. Yeah, like no one could be meaner to me than what I have been to myself. So there comes a point where, and I see this now, the more they hate and the more they reject, I become free. It's so weird because I lost like it the thing I was most afraid of is finally done.
Yeah.
That is where I've had so many people reach out to me lately, like, where is this energy coming from? Man, I love your drive. And what's going on? It's that. So when they say go get more haters, allow exactly what we're talking about, it has, I wouldn't say that it's really put fuel, you know, like it's not really that it's jet fuel. It's the release from the I need to please them.
Mhm.
I'm such a people pleaser, codependent, wanting to satisfy everyone. And so I stay in my small little circle and give and give and give,
Yeah.
but then I'm not bringing new people in and they eventually become what they consider my victim. Like I become the same thing that someone else was.
Yeah.
It's their upper limit. And after several, you could say stabs in the back or like people coming into my community and having shit about me in front of my clients
Mhm.
about money and she's all about the, you know, and stuff that has happened. And I can say this out here because so many of my followers and my clients watched and they're still with me and they've watched this happen. And
Yeah.
this me watching this happen in our community is why I wanted to talk to her about it. Like,
Mhm.
and I think my question was, how do I avoid it?
And the answer is you can't.
How do I
Yeah.
avoid it? And she's like, you can't stop being, the pain of not being myself is more intense than the pain of them rejecting me, is what I came to. And I
Yeah.
turned around and did a couple of podcasts on it afterwards. So, what about you? Have you seen, like, aside from experiencing it yourself, have you seen it in other communities to where you kind of have this like concern about it, or has it not been in your forefront?
No, I was like ignorance on fire. Like I was like again in my own little stay-at-home mom bubble, and then I discovered the coaching world, and it was all sunshine and daisies. And our mentor, I was just like, this is amazing. And I kind of felt like everyone felt the way I did about it. Like everyone wanted to make money. Everyone was expanded by that idea. They thought it was a good thing. It was going to help them become more of themselves, and it was them like a strategic byproduct of living an extraordinary life. Those are all things that I believe and have all found to be true. Like money has just made me more of who I am. And I love having money and I love the things that I get to do with money for myself, for my family, for my community. And when I found out that not everyone felt that way, it was a shock to me. Like it was a shock to my nervous system and it made me sad for a long time. And I had to, much like what you were saying, I just had to come to terms with the fact that me showing up as Sarah, and I say this all the time, my job is to be as Sarah as possible. And that when I show up boldly and authentically, I'm activating for people. And that activation sometimes is going to magnetize people to me, and sometimes it's going to repel people from me. And that is okay. Like whatever people do with me activating them is actually none of my business. And my ego really like wanted to get in the way and be like, no, it has to make everyone love me more because I know my heart and I know I'm a good person and I know how much I fucking care, right? About people and helping them. But yeah, at the end of the day, what they do with who I am in the world as a catalyst in their life is none of my business.
Yeah, I had to get beyond the point of the misconception. I thought they were permanent. So I kept reducing because I thought they were permanent. And then I realized, thankfully, you know, the stuff, the feedback and the negative, I was able to see they weren't permanent. I would have continued doing it if they were permanent. I know myself.
When you
And
say they, you mean like your clients?
no, the negative, the ones that had the problem.
Oh, yeah.
they, if I would have continued to believe or seen, I probably, like, I must have just been set up for abuse. I don't know
Mm.
like where that came from, but this could be our culture. So where do you live?
I live in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'm in Louisiana. So, I mean, average household income is 24 to 40,000 is on the high end. My zip code for a household medium income is
Mhm.
24,000 per household income. So,
Yeah.
talking money, it's not, and if there is anyone making money, it's the handful and there's not really conversation about it. So it could be culture, just I've
Yeah.
seen so much of it and I stayed in it for so long. I tried to save it for so long. I wanted to be part of everything the chamber did. I wanted to like teach business for free. I mean, I put up a post just a couple of weeks ago, like, hey, let's do some live events where you can come over here. I have the space.
Yeah.
None, not one. I just said, what would be a better time during the day, lunch, or evening? Not one response. I was like, oh my God, I charge like 30 to $50,000 a year and I'm giving it for free and they don't want it. Okay, Kim, they don't want it. Okay, Sarah, they don't want it. Who does?
Yes. Oh, and that's such a like the people who want to give you pushback and want to troll you on the internet and just attack you. Like I was attacked so personally. Like I had people saying, I hate everything that Sarah Plowman stands for. And I was like, you don't even know me. And like I can't, it just was so shocking to me. But I had to come to that same conclusion. Like they don't, I'm just rubbing up against, like they have very different values and they don't want those values changed. Like they just, my message is not for them. And what our nervous system wants us to do is just stop, right? Stop showing up, stop selling, stop making offers. And for a little while I did, right? While I was taking care of myself and like loving myself and back to a place where I could show up. So I think that's important, right? You have to like take time to comfort and soothe yourself. But I was like, I'm not showing up for them. I'm showing up for the women whose lives are changed because of how I can help them in the way that only Sarah Plowman can help them, right? Like they don't want help from anyone else right now. They want help from me. And I have a gift to help these women. And if I only focus on the haters or the people who don't buy into what I'm teaching or selling, then I'm neglecting these people who really want my help.
100%. Yeah, I took that became non-negotiable for me because I've got like a lot of passion and drive. Like I mean, my story's pretty intense, so I'm not going back. Like that's death to my brain. Like it's no way. And that's right there. I mean, it pushes so much drive, but it comes out as pressure. It's like
Yeah.
and push. And so I get it. So I was like, oh, it's just too much. I need to like slow it down. I need to settle it down. Or I need to find some running mates, right? I need someone else powerful like me so that we can go together. But I couldn't find anyone. So I chose the other. And if I tell you I'm not going back, I put on 30 pounds. I was starting to feel like down in the dumps and like nothing I do is good.
Yeah.
Nobody wants what I have. I have no value in the world. Like nobody wants it. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like, where is this coming from? And I realized it was me expecting other people to stay at my pace
Mhm.
that I began to apologize for my pace. I didn't have it makes a difference though, don't you think? Like if we're having this conversation right now, this is going to keep us juiced up maybe for a year or two, right?
Yes.
Because we were on that call where we were talking about money. We had permission to talk about money until we didn't. I was like shocked that that was the response for me. I was like, wait, we quit talking about money,
Right.
and I couldn't afford to go down where that conversation was going. So I got up, I did a podcast immediately. I put up a post. I did a podcast because you asked me, where did that post come from?
Yeah.
What just happened? That's called survival.
Mm.
I can't go back where I was. And so I can't spend a moment entertaining it. And this is energetic hygiene. And I did a podcast on energetic hygiene and I did a podcast on money talk. And then we talked on Insta and decide, but is
Yeah.
that what you're talking about when you were like, I have to go and take care and love myself and give myself what I want? Like that's what I had. That's what it looked like for me.
Yeah. And actually, I love how you're describing it And for me, there was a little bit more of a gap. Like the first time I went through this last year, there was more of a gap where I did like start buffering and go into overeating and like not showing up and not like letting that be fuel to my fire. And so it really helped me to decide what I'm available for, right? Like what conversations, what energies I'm available for, and to raise my standard. Like I don't need to go down that path again. When I hear someone be like, who the fuck does Sarah think she is to be charging multiple five figures to work with her? I'm like, okay, like that's your opinion. And I know what I believe. I know the value of what I put out in the world. And I'm going to keep on my path and just let you misunderstand me and let you not agree with it. So the first time, no, I definitely spiraled for a little while, but it helped me see, okay, how do I want to treat myself moving forward when this happens?
Yeah, but this is kind of, I'm just a few years ahead of you. It's the only thing
Yeah.
that's different. I used to go way down spirals for like long, like, I mean, I was
Yeah.
in one container that knocked me out for a year. And I say
Mhm.
knocked me out. I still made money,
Yeah.
but I didn't continue to earn more. I just plateaued because of some of this, we'll call it buffering because it's buffering with something other than life. Like you're
Yeah,
not
exactly.
moving forward. So what are you doing? I went by a van. I was like, I'm just going to travel the fucking world. I'll kiss my ass, right?
Friend of life.
And I just can't. I keep finding myself in the same place. But the thing I just described
Yeah.
is the new identity, the new version of me that no longer gets set back for 3 months or 6 months. Or that
Yeah.
was the first time that I had that quick of a turnaround, and that's why that post had the fire behind it. Does
Yeah.
that
And
make
you
sense?
Oh, totally. And I could feel that energy. I was like, it felt like there was so much conviction and strength and self-love behind it too, which is what compelled me to reach out to you. But yeah, that's heartening for me to hear because this is like year three I'm beginning year four of my business. So it still feels new. And there are so many things that I'm going through for the first time. And that was the first time of like receiving that kind of backlash. And I love what you said, how we can still create abundance even from that place. Like I still almost doubled my revenue last year compared to the year before. And I'm just like in awe of that. Like even in the hardest emotional year in my business, like I crushed it. And it's so amazing to think, okay, and now as I refine my process and I like shorten that length of time of my like spin out, like it's just going to keep getting better and better.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. What did you just say? You just triggered something in my mind to have the right before you said that statement. What did you say? The double the income. I think that our clients and those who are watching us think that we're on all the time. And I was like, I am committed and disciplined and really good at what I do. But there are some moments that's just what I'm doing. Like I'm
Yeah.
not faking it. I'm fully transparent. If you would go back and listen to my podcast from 6 months ago, I share what that feels like. I share like I'm because I work through my own process by verbalizing.
Yeah.
And so it's like that was the hard to show up. That was me showing up in the hard to show up. This is what you do when you're triggered. This is what you do when you're in doubt. This is what happens when your capacity to believe is only 30 seconds. Like this is, and
Yeah.
so that is us showing up in it. Do you agree? Do you like,
100%. I mean, when I think about not only the money that I created, like doubling my business last year, but I also like put out like I created my website. I hadn't had a website before. I released my podcast, like all of these big scary things that I had never done before and was creating for the first time. And there were months that I like really was doing just the bare minimum in my business because I was licking my wounds and it wasn't just in the business, like I had some stuff going on in my personal life too, as we all do, right? But I think that that's what part of what defines a high earner is that you keep showing up and you don't, I call it quitting with a baby cue. Like you don't quit, you keep showing up, and sometimes it looks like just for me, sometimes it looks like crying on camera and being like, this is behind the scenes. This is what it looks like. It's hard today. Here's how I'm processing my emotion. Here's how I'm continuing to show up. But we just keep going.
yeah, you just said something important. I just said this on a call right before we hopped on. You said I just created my website.
Yeah.
Like, guys, listen. I made over $300,000 without a website
Yeah.
and without even a landing page. Like I was like, hey, let's get on a call.
Yep.
Here's my schedule. And most of the time I was just saying, can you meet Tuesday at 10? And I would put it in because I didn't have that automated one. And
Yeah.
then it was like I would take a paypal.me link so I could change the numbers on the end because I didn't know how to go and fix that. It's still, I used it this week. It's still in the notes on my phone.
I love it so
Go and
much.
I changed the last number and sent it. And I was like, almost $400,000
So I'm really
doing
curious.
that.
What were your thoughts? Because I know why I made that decision, but it sounds like we really have this in common. So what were the thoughts that like compelled you to take like money making action in the beginning and not do things like a website or a landing page?
Well, I'm a little older than you. And so tech, you will notice probably from your clients, anyone over 45, 50, like we struggle with tech. It was a deficiency. And so I
Mhm.
had to overcome it. And what do we do when we have a deficiency? We blossom somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right. And so I had I didn't have the understanding. I didn't know how to do it. I knew I was trying to learn it, but I wasn't I didn't want to do copy. I didn't want to write. I'm a visionary and a strategist. I'm not really like I don't want to label myself, so I don't want to limit this, but those things don't come easily to me. And
Yep.
I didn't want to dick around trying to figure it out. I
I
wanted
love
to
it.
and serve people. And no other reason.
Yeah.
Then I didn't know how to do that. I didn't really care because all I want to do was help people. I wasn't thinking about scaling. I think they're caught up in scaling and doing what these big people with millions of followers are doing. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I focused on what I wanted to do, which was to help people because it made me
Yeah.
feel really good. And I just wanted to do more of it. And I was willing to let them take all of my time.
Yes.
Wasn't trying to preserve time where a lot of them I hear that too where I don't want to work all the time and I don't want to be available all the time. I'm like I want to be available all the time. I want to give you everything, and when I have downtime I want someone to call me with an emergency, like, and I want to quit apologizing for that because
Yeah.
that's the kind of things that it's like you're gonna burn out, and I'm like, not a fucking candle. I'm a soul. I don't burn out. Like as long as you're
Woo, that's a line. Can we put that on a t-shirt, please? I love it.
as long as like I think the burnout comes when you're doing something you don't love to do or like to do or you want to do. I want to do this and I want to do more of it. Matter of fact, this year, my word is refine. Like I want to refine how I show up and I want to work on my havingness, expanding my havingness so I can speak to not just 25 people, 50 people, 100 people. I want to talk to 30,000 people. Like
Yeah.
and so I have to like regulate this havingness in my nerving system, this crazy success that I wouldn't even know what to do with the money. Like I have to like work on that. So it's like
Yeah.
what I work on every year is different. So, and I'm probably speaking from not everyone will understand what I'm saying, but
Mhm.
it's not about, and I think that's what Sarah and I are both trying to tell you. It's not about that number, that dollar, that bank account. It's about who we become when we set and reach that goal. It's the hurdles we jump through. It's the game, and we compete with ourselves. We're not competing with anyone else. Like life is a game that you won't get out of it alive, but will you have drawn from it? Will you have grown? Will you have contributed? Like, I'm like, how can I impact people? I was in such a bad place. Like the fact that I've even gotten here, and you probably feel this way too, because you said 42 was your highest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's actually high for a woman.
Mm. Crazy. That's insane.
It is.
Shift that paradigm.
I helped an Ayurvedic practitioner get from 22,000 as a teacher to over 75,000 as an Ayurvedic wellness practitioner.
Wow.
And she was still like, you never really look at it like you've arrived, right? And she's just like, and I said, listen, you have to stop for a moment and go look at what the men in your area are making because it's around the same. And she was like, shit. Perspective, right?
Yeah, total perspective shift. Yeah. And you're right. It never feel like I now I make as much in a month as I earn a couple weeks as I used to make in a year. And you get used to that, right? Like you desensitize yourself to that money. So I have to always bring myself back to like awe and gratitude and how amazing that is. But I love holding the duality of being really content and loving my life now and wanting more. And I think not a lot of people understand that. They don't know how to hold both of those at once. They think that if you're going for more, if you're raising your prices or if you're trying to make more money, you're doubling your goal from last year, it's because you're somehow dissatisfied with what you are. And I just feel I have everything that I want. I love my life. I love everything about it. And I love going for more. And that just feels so authentically Sarah and so fun. Like why would I want to pass the time doing anything other than that? So fun.
Two things just came up when you said that. Number one is it is the have it all. We can have it all. I can have this and that. It's
Yes.
not a moral issue. It's not sinful. It's actually me tapping into the potential that I've been created to be. Like it's utilizing who we are, what we can do. And the other one was the divine discontentment.
Mm.
And that is the untapped potential that is just like, hey, 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 hey. That's so if it's like, because I used to get that too, because I traveled a lot and it was like, oh, what's she running away from? Why are you not satisfied?
Yes,
It's
exactly.
like, and it's like divinity is limitless,
Mm.
limitless. And it's what moves us.
Yeah.
And holding it hostage and back and down had become physically painful.
Absolutely. Like one of the best compliments I ever got was someone, it was actually on an outfit that I was wearing. It was at an LCS event, life coach school event, but she was like, "You look so good, but because I can tell you couldn't possibly be wearing anything else. Like you have to dress that way." And I think what a great compliment. And I try to live my life this way. Like I'm doing what I'm doing in all areas of my life because I couldn't possibly be doing anything else. And I want to piggyback off of something you just said about like what did you say, the divine discontentment? There's also like this piece of me that feels very human. I'm like the a little girl who like wants to prove herself by how much money she makes. And I also like I judged that for so long and I thought I had to like clean that up. And now I'm like, you know what? It's okay. There is part of me that has something to prove to myself and to everyone else. And there's part of me that feels more important the more money that I make. Like, I'm not going to lie about that. Like, it feels good. And I don't need to feed that part of myself, but also just like love her and be like, that's not what gives you worth. But like, also, I know that like you think it does, and it's okay. I love you too. Like, the human is going along with like the divine.
Yeah, I'm like, thank you. Thank you for that part. That's actually that's a cheerleader. That's a cheerleader right
Cheerleader.
there, right? That's not
Yeah.
gonna turn on you.
No.
And you do get there.
Yeah.
It's just gonna keep saying it. We gotta
She's
get
just
more.
gonna keep going.
We're like, yeah, we need more cheerleaders like that.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I love that part of myself. I've really come like that. That's one of the most beautiful things of building my business is learning to love and accept all parts of myself because it's brought all of these different parts up to the surface, and I think this can happen with any big goal that you're going after. Like maybe you want to run a marathon or you want to travel the world for a year. But for me, my business has been my big goal for the last couple of years and it really like it brings all your shit to the surface and it's just an invitation to like see how more deeply you can love and trust yourself.
Yeah, I think it is. And I fell into this accidentally. Like when I started my business, I was early 20s. Like this was who I don't even know where that came from. Like who would possibly put me in charge of this? Um, and it was what I fell in love with was the path to the self-development, the personal development. Like the
Ah,
and back then you had to like get a license, get a building, put electricity. It was like a long, it's not like, hey, I got a bottle of lavender oil. So now I have an essential oil business,
right.
$12.95. It wasn't like that at all. And I remember when I opened the gym and I was like, what if no one comes? Oh my God, what if no one comes? Like it was like a moment where like that you get a return on investment.
Yeah.
And then let me tell you something that I realized there was a moment and I said, you know what, if I just get this paid for and then I just use it for myself. It was the extra, it was the gym. If I could just make the money back and then have it for myself. Sarah, it's exactly what I did. I was like, that really taught me about
Wow.
what we say and what we limit. We actually brought that equipment and threw it at the dump.
Insane.
Because the goals that we set, have you seen anything you've even thought that like, oh, if I can just get here, oh, if I can just I did not realize.
Yes.
So
Yeah, it's we all do this to ourselves, and actually listening to you talk, I'm like, oh, I can already think of ways I'm doing that to myself right now. But I often ask my clients this when I ask them what their money goals are, whether it's for the month or the quarter of the year, whatever. And I see them start to answer me, and I've changed the way I ask this question, like your secret wish money goal, because we have like a realistic or like let me lower it to what I think is possible and what I'd be happy with and what like I think I can do. And I want to encourage everyone to stop that and like go for the goal that would blow your mind, that future you would just be like, or that present you would just be like, wait, we did what? Like that's the goal you go for.
it was as far as I could believe. So
Yeah,
that was great advice. Or you're going to end up with the equipment that there's nothing else to do with and it's paid for. Like you will
that's
literally,
true.
it's like, what? This was
Yeah,
so powerful.
yeah,
Something else you spoke of when we first started, I wanted to make sure that I got in before our time ends. And it was about when I asked about the six figures
yeah.
and you calculated it. I love to get this point across, and I'm curious if you do the same with your clients. And it's the way that they set the goal and then use it against themselves when they don't hit it in the time frame. And so what I'll tell them to do is I'm constantly looking January to January, February, February, March to March. And at what point did it happen? I remember looking for that first million, like at what point but I just needed to see. And so you get to play that, guys. Your brain is a dumbass and it believes everything you tell it.
It's true.
So you just show it the evidence
Yeah,
and you paint the pictures. And I mean, we can get all into the whole how do this other part of it. But what we're talking about today is there's so many little simple practical steps that you don't even realize that you're doing or limiting yourself. And it's things like that, like when did or who made up this idea that 12 months made you more valuable if you did a certain dollar amount from January to December? Like, where
I
did that
know.
come from?
I even had a client recently who was saying, I've never had a $10,000 cash month. And I was questioning her, and she's like, oh, well, I have done it in 30 days, but not a calendar month. I was like, that does
See?
yeah, like those kind of like totally arbitrary rules. I was like, listen, a month is 30 days. And also, maybe you've done it in 35 days, maybe you've done it in 40 days. And how is that any worse than doing it in 30 days? So, what I tell my clients is like, I call this looking for the optimal angles. Like, if you think of you have a
Yes.
prism and you have holding it up against the light and there's no rainbow until you turn it, like, we have to turn the different facts in our business until we see the rainbow. And that doesn't mean twisting the facts, but looking at the facts from all different angles until you see like how fucking awesome you are.
Yeah. Where I have a client that so I believe in 10Xing. Like it's like we
Yeah.
get 10X return on investment, 10X what you did before. And so I was like looking at exactly what you're saying, like where we were. She was at $49,000 the year before. So in
Mhm.
December of that year. And we started to working together in January and she ended at 385,000. Well, that's not 10X, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it's like should have been 490,000. But what I realized is she made 49,000 November, December. I was like, dang it, we just took the annual into the monthly, 10X'd it, right? So it was like exactly what you're just saying. And you're not twisting truth at all. You're
No.
fine, like the way that, so your brain solves problems, your mind gathers evidence to help or to, and in whatever you're believing. It's the evidence gathering.
Yeah. And you used the word refinement earlier, right? You said that's your let's do word right now. So, like one thing that I encourage my clients to do that no one ever knows these numbers off the top of their head, but I ask them, how much money have you made since you started your business? So, in all time.
Right.
And that number is a lot bigger than any other number that's floating
Yeah.
around in their head. And then I say, okay, we're going to take that number. Let's say it's 100K, right? And it took them 2 years to make 100K. We're going to refine your process and elevate your process and shorten the timeline. So you're showing your brain, oh, I already know how to make $100,000. That is something that I have done once. I know how to do it. I can like document the steps that got me here. Now I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to shorten the time frame. And then I'm going to do it in a year, and then maybe I'll shorten the time frame and do it in 6 months. And that's how like I've thought of 100K like this ever since I made my first 100K, and I've shortened it all the way to like now I know how to make 100K in a month. And I just kept showing my my dumbass brain, we know how to do this. We've already done it. Let's just refine the process and do it quicker.
Yeah, I do with the practitioners. This is like some of the hard stuff because they've worked at clinics or they're working at the pharmacy or they work. And so they've made over six figures at their job, right? Whether it's a doctor or a pharmacist or a chiropractor, but they haven't done it like in their personal business. And I do
Yes.
exactly that. So we have to take the evidence and
Yeah.
then we have to borrow it and then we have to go in between and slice and dice it. And these are the beautiful things that of it's control. It's
Mhm.
control. How can we control it to manipulate and work for us? Because what's happening is the old story is doing that. So if you're not actively doing this, guess what's winning? Guess what's
Yeah.
happening? Ah, this is so good. We should do a money talk every week and grow a group of people who come here and ask questions because
Oh my
I
God,
know
I
we can
love
give
it.
them amazing answers.
Absolutely. That was such a fun conversation. I could literally talk about this all day long.
Yeah, yeah. When was the moment you decided you wanted to be like go into business for yourself? Where did you hear? Was it the coachings, brought you in?
Well,
Like,
yeah, I think I always had like an entrepreneurial spirit. And when I was a stay-at-home mom, my mom, who is an entrepreneur, she was constantly coming to me with business ideas, like either for me to do on my own or partner with her. So we actually started a series of businesses like building websites for people. And I was the salesperson because I'm not tech savvy at all. We started one like selling physical products on Amazon, things like that. And I never made any money in any of those. Like they were all epic failures. And I didn't feel like I was an energetic match for any of those businesses, but I felt this real longing to like be my own boss. And so but I never had considered coaching, didn't even know what coaching was until I discovered Brooke Castillo and her podcast when I was going through my divorce. And so at first, I was really using those tools to help me heal from my divorce and to become more self confident and feel like come out of victim mentality and people pleasing. Like I was such a people pleaser. So it was a couple months of like using those tools. And I have to tell you, after years of being in therapy, like nothing helped me the way that these tools and coaching helped me. And my transformation in a 6 month time frame was so profound, and unlike anything I had ever felt before. And I think that was the moment where I was like, I need to get these tools in the hands of as many women as possible. And I want to run my own business. So here, this is it. I really had this moment like I can cry thinking about it. Like this is what I've been searching for my whole life. Like both like how to feel better and also like how to impact people in the way that I know I'm meant to impact people.
ah, love that. Hmm.
Yeah.
I had a question and that took me somewhere else. Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
So, you and I have this in common that we both are really public with our goals. And I would love to hear from you. Like, have you been really public with a goal before and not hit it? And how do you navigate that situation, like internally or with your audience?
That's a great question. So for the longest time, I did not do in public. I just proved to myself that I can do it
Yeah.
so that I could talk about it. That's the first thing is not say it that way. I don't have to fail and they don't have to know it and I don't have anything. So I used it for myself to prove it.
Hmm.
So that was the first thing. Now I'm doing it publicly because you'll notice this is going to happen as you keep evolving and growing as a business owner. It gets very uncomfortable when you don't have a goal and you're not breaking through something new. And so I actually created that to put me back into like the fire, to put me back.
Mm.
Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
I did that on purpose. And then I was like, what the hell did I just do? Kind of thing. And so we have publicly talked about getting 100 people into certain groups, 1,000 people into certain groups, and we have not hit it.
Yeah.
And so what I focus on is what we have done. So I'll say we didn't hit it, but we got here. And there's two quotes I would read. If we had the time, I would read to you. I've actually talked about it previously, so I'll kind of paraphrase because I think this is so important. Oh, and remember my question. I remember my question. So write
Okay.
this. I'm gonna tell you to write down.
You want me to write down? I got to post it somewhere.
I got it. I wrote it. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, you would come back. So it comes from Emerson. I posted it in LCS, and it is about that seed, the seed that is inside of every one of us, which is divinity. It's not like it is like, hey, you, I want to express through you, and here, go and express this. And so it is like our duty. It is our, like it is our, it's the calling on our life. There's something here, and no one can take it. And the actual phrase says that envy is ignorance And imitation is suicide. Like, really listen to this.
Say it
Because
again.
envy is ignorance. So think about what shuts most new coaches down. They're watching everyone else hit it, because this is referring to the goal. And now they're ashamed because they didn't, and they don't want to, they won't even show their face anymore. They just go get in, they just slowly go away and they go get a job. They were human. Envy. So when you're looking at someone else in your community, in your group who's doing it, and you have envy and jealousy, because it brings it up, because you know you could do what they do, but you're not doing it, right? That's where it
Yeah.
comes from. I had so much of this. Envy is ignorance, because you don't understand that the seed that you've been given is yours to harvest. Their seed, they found their seed to harvest. You can't, do you see, like,
Yes.
this was so profound for me. And the imitation is suicide. If I go be you, I'm dead.
Mm,
I am you. If I am Brooke, if I am Corinne, where is me?
yeah.
I'm dead. Not being. If you're being someone else, you're not being. So that's right there. And listen, I'm just a geek. I mean, I go into these 200-year texts and I just like feel like I found my relatives. I'm like, oh, someone who understands me, because this world doesn't understand me. That's how I think, right? And so, and then I keep reading, and I'm looking, and I'm going from this teacher to this teacher and this teacher, and I find this. And this is why I decided that I could release that part of the business. I had done everything I could possibly think, aside from showing up at their house and helping them to get that container to
Yeah.
1,000 people. Like, I knew it was good. It was called Self-Healing Masters. We helped everybody with mental and emotional. We had like, it was so good and
Yeah.
so rich, but I don't know if I never learned how to relay the message or market, whatever, but it never got there. And after 4 years, this one quote gave me permission. What you have done up until this point, twisting and turning, and like everything that you have done to no result, like it just hasn't worked. You can be sure that you've given it your all and release. And all that you have put into it is not lost. It is carried into what you will do. Like, it is,
Yeah.
man, I don't know. It was like,
Such relief.
think about like even the divorce, right? You tried and you try and you try, and you're just like, oh, but everything, like, because we like to say something like that, right? Like, I
Mm,
put so much in, and I shouldn't have put all that effort. I lost all that money. I lost
yes.
all that time. No, the desire, the what was put into it
Mm.
still.
It's still it working, right?
So imagine we have 1 to 100,
Yeah.
and you put this much effort in to no resolve. And so you're like, change this. Yeah, like, I mean, anyway, that happened back in June, I guess. And I decided in that moment, but I had commitments through the end of the year. So I just like kept imagining and envisioning, and the whole boss up thing came up, which is business owner success strategies to unlock potential, people, and profits. And I was like, oh, there it is.
It
This,
is.
this is it. But I had to give up, right? What do you want? What do you need to do to get there? Who are you going to be? And what do you need to let go of?
Hmm.
And so, as painful as that was, because there was people, I had gotten it to 100, like it did have
Yeah.
money, it was producing, but in order to let that go. So that is kind of relaying back to the whole question about the goals. I did not hit the goal. I knew for sure I would hit the goal. I gave it 4 years. I talked about it all the time. I did everything possible aside from going to their homes. Like,
Dragging them
I don't know.
along.
I don't know what the fuck else you want. This is better than self-coach scholars, and it's 1/3 of the price, and you can get on one. Like, I don't know what else you need. And so, it's that. So my question for you is, did that answer your question?
That's a great answer. And I really appreciate you sharing, because I think that so many people don't do what we're doing because they're afraid, and they don't make goals, or they don't share them publicly. They might not even be making goals for themselves because they're afraid of how shitty they'll treat themselves if they don't hit their goals.
Right.
So I feel like you sharing, and I'm really public about my goals. I'm also really public when I don't hit them, and I share what I learned from the experience, like evaluation, what worked, what didn't, what I'll do differently next time. But I think it's just so helpful that you share that. So you show your people like, and it was still worth it. And it was part of me creating my success story. And we don't have to be afraid of having big goals and failing them. Like we're always trending upwards. We're always creating the next, like our success story is always unfolding.
Yeah, the two things that I notice is they don't set goals because they actually don't know how. Like we got to go through the emotional trauma release and we got to get all rid of all the
Yeah.
reasons why they couldn't. So that's the first, that's the most popular. And the second one is they don't want to say it in case they can't do it. And so because they don't say it, they can't get it. But the first one, that one really hits hard in my heart because we have never been taught to dream big. You know, it was never
Yeah.
like, and so that part, I love the deeper inner emotional, like all of that stuff so that we can move that.
Yeah.
But this, I don't think they realize the
Mm.
how much that's affecting them by not doing it. I think they think it's protecting them, but it really is protecting because it's putting up a wall and they can't get it. So
Right. You're just cutting yourself off from it.
my question, I'm like, we're going to get this in 2 minutes.
Okay.
You got
Okay.
1 minute to answer so we can say goodbye and they can find out where to get you.
Yeah.
Where do you get your discipline and drive from?
Oh, I still don't consider myself driven or disciplined. I'm just committed. I'm committed and I'm not afraid of failing. And there are times that I let myself down, and there are times that, um, many times that things don't go the way that I want them to, but I am committed to growing my business and I'm committed to my personal growth through my business. And I just have learned to like love myself no matter what. So that's really where it comes from, is like because I love myself so much, and I forgive myself and I comfort myself when even it feels like everyone else in the world hates me, which I have days like that, you know, it feels like everyone is against me. I know that I have my own back, and that's the true definition to me of self-confidence. So that's what I've had. I've had to build up my self-confidence to be able to honor my commitment of growing my business.
It's the honor, the commitment then. Yeah, that's so great. And I mean, we're there. So, it's because I could say, listen, when you're feeling down, I got your back. It actually doesn't work. We got to have our own back.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And
And I used to think that though.
no, I know. And I have a
Okay.
great support system for sure. I have like, I have peers who are in the coaching industry who really support me. I have coaches, you know, that's always my number one investment. But it doesn't matter. They can be like, Sarah, you're crushing it. You're so amazing. Like, it does not matter if my own head is telling me that I'm a piece of shit. Like, that's the voice that matters the most.
100%. That's what I'm saying. Like I can boost them up. I can tell and someone can tell me that. But if you
Yeah.
don't believe them, you don't believe them. So it doesn't help to talk at people. That's why coaching is so powerful. All
Great.
right, my friend. Thank you. I'm happy. Listen, if we can, let's get some traction going on this and we can do
All
some,
right.
we can meet again. But I wish you the absolute best. I believe supporting women and women's success is the most powerful thing we can do on the planet. We are the mother of the children. We are the future. Like seriously, what comes through the cells of our body is being produced in the world. There is no more important role.
Yeah.
We're
Thank
the vessel for humanity.
you. Yeah. Thank you
So
for being you and for holding this space. This was an amazing conversation, and I just love you. Thanks for being you and unapologetically you and showing us the way.
unapologetic. I will put all Sarah's contact info in below so that you guys can reach out to her and you can find she's on Instagram, she's on Facebook. You can find us there. I'll tag that too so that they can find you. Thank you, Sarah.